Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So I obviously have the headphones on, which means we are reacting to a video, and we are going to be reacting to my top 10 prospect videos from back in June of 2021 and 2022. I have been talking about prospects all week, so I thought, why not look at and kind of grade how I judged these prospects back when they were going to be drafted, these 2021 and 2022 guys. 2023 was like 6 months ago. I'm not going to look back on that. There's not going to be radical change to that, but I haven't watched these. I obviously downloaded these, but I have not watched these back, so I'm going to be surprised. I remember I was higher on some guys than others, but this is going to be very fun to see, did I hit some out of the park? Did I absolutely miss on some evaluations? So without further ado, let's dive into it. And first off, get ready for 2021 June, this is like 2 months into my content creation career, so get ready for me to be talking really fast, I'd imagine.
The NHL draft being less than 2 weeks away, I think it's about time I give my top 10 players. And
I still talk pretty fast, but Jesus Christ,
again, this is my
did.
personal opinion. This isn't a mock draft. I'm just going off what I've seen on tape and what scouts say.
Okay, Clark McTavish. I guess this was back on TikTok when it was minute-long videos, so I guess I had to go really quick. But we got that's Kent Johnson, not Wyatt Johnston. Jesper Wallstead, Simon Edvinsson, McTavish, Clark. So I was right on Wallstead, or at least looks like I'm right on Wallstead. I had him very high. He obviously fell to like 24th. That's kind of a dub. Kent Johnson, a little bit of a weird second season under Pascal Vincent, still TBD. Simon Edvinsson, I think in a redraft would go like between 8 and 10. McTavish, although he has slowed down recently, I think he still has like 21 points in 26 games. That's kind of a miss. Brandt Clark, he was around the second or third best defenseman in this draft behind Owen Power. It was like him or Luke Hughes, so obviously I have Luke Hughes top 5. But Brandt Clark, I think, is about right. So this isn't crazy. I don't think I had anybody outlandish on this. I don't really remember who's in the top 5, but let's keep on going.
I'm kind of trying to focus on the top 5, so here's my 6 through 10 in bulk. I think this draft very much falls off after McTavish.
Yeah, I remember there was like a distinct top 7. So like I assume like 3 through 7 is probably gonna be all about like the same tier for me. Edvinsson, I was a little bit questionable on just because he wasn't that great as a skater. He was 6'6", absolute freak physically, but in terms of his actual skating, wasn't that invested. Although I think Wallstead was a grade A goalie prospect and he's developed as so.
7. Number 5, I have Dylan Guenther, and he's the best goalie.
Okay, Dylan Guenther at number 5. This is a weird one because he still hasn't made his full-time NHL mark. He's playing very good in the AHL. He has like 25 points in 26 games. And last year he had 15 points in 33 games. I don't really know why he's not at the NHL level right now. I guess they're trying to give him as much first-line minutes as possible so he can transition next year into a top 6 role instead of just play like third or fourth line this year. And I guess they did sign like Kerfoot. Carconi's really come out of nowhere. But I still think Dylan Guenther can be a 30 kind of guy. I'm not, this might be a little bit too high. I would definitely have Brandt Clark. I would definitely have McTavish over him right now, but I remember being very bullish on him, and I still think that he does have a fantastic shot.
Score in this draft. I think in the right situation, he can be a 30.
Yeah, I said best goal scorer in the draft. Thinking about this, I still think he has a possibility to do that. Wyatt Johnston would probably be the best goal scorer right now.
5 and 35 guy. Fourth, and this is going to be controversial because
Owen Power at number 4. I couldn't remember if I had Luke Hughes over Owen Power. Again, Owen Power was still an elite prospect. That's pretty funny. Ryan Pulock. This was back in 2021, coming off back-to-back conference finals where Ryan Pulock was like a legit top 30, top 25 defenseman. I know that comparison looks loony right now. Pulock has kind of fallen off in the past couple years, but damn, I remember, because I definitely didn't have Owen Power number 1. I know who I have number 1, but I had Owen Power at number 4. I still think Owen Power maybe hasn't fully taken that next step yet, but I think he's going to be a very good top pairing guy worth that $8 million per contract. He's no doubt top 5 in a redraft still, but I remember everybody was like, Owen Power's the no doubt first overall. I was a little bit hesitant on that.
He's the presumed number 1 pick, but
obviously, yeah, presumed number 1 pick.
Owen Power. I think he's the safest pick in this draft, but when I'm...
Yeah, my whole thing with him was like, the floor is there at whatever, what is he, like, he's like 6'6", like, right? Like, he was a better Simon Edvinsson, basically. He was always going to be a top pair guy. I just didn't see the offensive tools mainly the offensive tools to become that legit number 1, and I guess I'm spewing that.
In the top 5, I want potential, and I think the 3 guys ahead of him have more.
All right, that's fair. All right.
Number 3,
William Eklund. I remember loving William Eklund in the draft process. This is definitely a cook. He's playing a lot better of late. He has 13 points in his last 20 games. I loved William Eklund. He was a highly regarded prospect. Most people had him between like 5 and 8. I still think it's a tough grade because he's on such a dog shit Sharks team. He's producing pretty well, but like we won't know about William Eklund and like for another 2 years at least. Next year they're gonna suck too. But let me hear what I have to say.
William Eklund, and he's very skilled and played against grown men in the SHL.
Yeah, I think he like outproduced a William Nylander or like Elias Lindholm, like those kind of guys. He outproduced them at the SHL, and his tape was so impressive. Again, transitioning from the SHL, similar to Leo Carlson. If you dominate the SHL, grown Swedish men, the third best league in all of the world, North America, you're probably going to be a good NHL player.
SHL this past year and held his own. I'm very high on it. Clocking in at second overall.
Luke Hughes. I got shit for this. I had Luke Hughes number 2. Everybody said he was a Nepo baby for going 4th overall. That comparison is definitely off. Quinn Hughes, obviously, since the past 2.5 years, has become a much better defender, and obviously they have somewhat similar play styles, but Quinn Hughes definitely way better skater as of right now than a Luke Hughes. Luke Hughes is still very good, but that was kind of a lazy comparison by me, I'm not going to lie. But Luke Hughes, I think he would go first. He might go first in a redraft. Would you have McTavish or Luke Hughes? Or Wyatt Johnston? I think I would go Luke Hughes. So I was very high in Luke Hughes. That obviously panned out pretty well.
I think he can be even better than his brother Quinn.
Probably not going to be better than his brother Quinn, but he might not be better than his brother Quinn. He could legitimately be a top 5 defenseman and not be better than his brother Quinn. That's how good Quinn is turning out right now. So that's saying something.
He's a lot less of a liability.
Luke, again, Canucks Nation, don't clip that. Not a defensive liability anymore. 2 years ago, he kind of was.
On defense. Also, he's by far the youngest player.
That was the other thing. Oh my God, this is why I love Luke Hughes. And this does matter when evaluating prospects. Luke Hughes either at a late August or early September. Obviously, that the cutoff is the 15th. When looking at a prospect, Owen Power has like an October birthday. Luke Hughes has a early September, I think. So Owen Power is basically a year older than Luke Hughes. So I was telling everybody, I was like, Owen Power is a more complete player right now. Don't get me wrong. But Luke Hughes is basically a 2022 draftee. He'd be a early 2022 draftee. So I kept on harping on that. And especially with the bloodline, I'm like, this kid is 17 years old and oozing with potential. So I'm victory lapping this. This was a good take.
The top 10. And last but not least, my number 1.
All right, Matty Beniers number 1. Matt Beniers is Matt. But this is solid. Obviously, this looked fantastic last year, having him number 1. He was kind of the consistent number 2. Some people had him number 3. I really liked him. He fit the mold of that next very, very good center from the U.S. Developmental Program. The track record's there. He's definitely been a little bit disappointing this year, but I still think you could make an argument for him number 1 in a redraft.
Prospect for this draft is Matt Beniers. He's by far the most complete player in this draft.
Yeah, again, even at 18, he was such a raw defensive, not raw, he was such a complete defensive two-way guy that I saw a future Selke level guy. And offense hasn't been there this year, but he's still elite defensively.
Great two-way center, and if I'm Buffalo, I'm replacing Eichel with him.
That would have been good. I mean, obviously, they eventually got Tage Thompson, so it didn't matter. They did have Rasmus Dahlin. They ended up going with Owen Power. But that would have been a different world of Beniers in Buffalo would be fun. All right, and that's it. So let's go back to the front. So it was Kent Johnson, Wallstead, Edvinson, McTavish, Clark, Gunther, Power, Eklund, Hughes, Beniers. It was definitely a unique top 10 for me. I think I did pretty well with it. Obviously, guys like Wyatt Johnston, Matthew Nyes have kind of they would definitely have Wyatt Johnston would no doubt be in a top 10. Matthew Nyes probably would be in a top 10 maybe. But I think I did a pretty solid job. The top 8 of this draft is fantastic. Let's move on. 2022. Let's go. Okay, so we got 2022 now. I was in Montreal for this. I attended it. I don't know why I had this disgusting mustache, and I sound like I'm sick in this.
The draft is tomorrow, and I've done a bunch of prospect breakdowns as well as watched plenty other.
Look at that fat ass pimple on my face. Jesus. Thank God I don't got any of those anymore.
Prospects, so I thought I'd give you my top 10 prospects.
Those eyes are gleaming.
Reference, here was my prospect list last year.
All right, looking back on last year's, yeah, pretty solid job.
I think I did a pretty good job. At 10, give me Cutter Gauthier. I don't.
Ooh, Gauthier at 10. Obviously, it's a little bit weird because some of the 2022 guys have started playing in the NHL. I had Gauthier at number 4 on my total prospects. So I was lower on Gauthier. I was higher on some other use of a mental guys. But I still think Gauthier, I was low on him. I don't
think he's ever going to be a star on a team. I think
he was like around 6 through 10 for the most part. Maybe, yeah, like 8 through 12 on most rankings. It was kind of surprising that he went 5th overall from what I remember.
He's going to be a very good first-line power forward. 9, Joakim Kamel, and I'm going to be honest,
Kamel did fall all the way to 16th overall to the Nashville Predators. I was pretty high on him. He was around that 8 to 12 range. It was surprising when he fell that much. Is doing pretty well in the AHL. Maybe you would expect a little bit more, but I still think he's trending to be around the top 6 forward. He was like 34th in my prospect ranking, so he has fallen a little bit. Maybe not the best evaluation. Starting out, not that good. Gauthier I was too low on. Kamel I might have been a little bit too high on, but everybody was high on Kamel.
Didn't really watch him a ton, but I still liked what I saw. I took a pretty hard stance on my video yesterday. Brad Lambert,
Let's go. All right, that's a good take. Brad Lambert right now is like point per game in the AHL. He obviously fell all the way to like 30. He had a fantastic draft year, -1. He struggled in Liga in his draft year, but since he got drafted, obviously went to the Seattle Thunderbirds, absolutely killed it. And this year in the AHL for the Manitoba Moose, he's playing great. So Brad Lambert, yeah, I could have understood him falling to like late lottery, maybe even 17 through 20. The fact he fell to 30, I thought that was an utter crime.
Slept on. He is too skilled and too good of a skater not to work in the end.
Yeah, dude. The production wasn't there. He was a classic case of the production wasn't there, but watching him on tape, there was so much skill. He just didn't get lucky. And he was playing against grown men. He did kind of get tossed around, but the raw skill and talent was so evident with him that. And now the Jets have a fantastic prospect. He was like number 18 on my prospect rankings.
Danila Yurov is not.
Danila Yurov. I mentioned this the other day, but Danila Yurov, yeah, he's killing it. He was my number 6 prospect, 27 points in 35 games in the KHL this year, which puts him on pace of guys like Tarasenko, Panarin, like all the best Russian players from the last 10, 15 years. He is playing fantastic. I had him number 7. Fell all the way to 24th.
On the top 10, but he definitely should. He dominated the MHL.
Yeah, he put up like 1.5 points per game in the MHL, which again, compared to those other guys at the same age, was great.
Tape was very impressive. And I don't love using advanced analytics when it comes to.
Yeah, dude. Hockey prospecting, if you want to look how good the prospects. This is basically like a data set of like every NHL youth player, NHL player ever, how they progressed based on other leagues and stuff. It's a very useful tool. I use it all the time. But yeah, his comps were.
But he was very similar to Nikita Kucherov in their draft years. That's a pretty decent comparison. 6, Simon Nemec, as I said.
Simon Nemec. Nemec 6. He ended up going 2, obviously. I had him. There was definitely a gap, I remember, between like 6, like Nemec and Yurov. I still thought Nemec was an elite future top pairing defenseman, but I did like Jiricek more.
I think he's a very safe pick. He has a pretty high floor but low ceiling. He's going to be a top pairing guy.
Yeah, basically, I didn't think New Jersey was going to pick him at fucking number 2 because they already had Luke Hughes, but I like Nemec. I think he has outperformed the evaluation that I gave him, though. I think that's fair. I think he's on pace to be a very, very good defenseman. Will he get the point totals because he plays with Hughes and Hamilton? We'll see, but I think he's going to be a stud.
Into our top 5, we got Matthew Savoy, and the number one criticism I've seen for him is, of course, his height, but we've seen guys even smaller like Cole Caulfield and Alex DeBrincat dominate the league.
DeBrincat. But Savoy, that's solid. He's killing it right now in the WHL. Played a couple games at the AHL. I think he had like 5 points in 6 games. This is valid. I had Savoy as like my number 17 prospect overall. I think this was about bang on. I still think he's going to be a very good first liner. Buffalo, think of like once Jeff Skinner kind of fades out, he's going to be one of their best forwards. He is a right winger, I think. Or I don't know. He'll play in the top 6. He'll be a 65 to 70 point guy. I'm still confident in that.
He is so skilled offensively. Savoy will be fine. Number 4, my number 1 defenseman, David Jiricek. As I said in my video literally today, the guy is a 6'3" offensive beast. If he can figure out his skating, he's going to be amazing.
Yeah, I still think Jiricek, he's progressing very well in Columbus this year. He's finally taking that next step. Got a healthy scratch the other day, but the point production is starting to come, and especially at 19 years old to be playing at the NHL and playing pretty serious minutes, he is an absolute tank. Like, you watch this guy and the way that he has progressed his skating, it is going to be a serious problem for David Jiricek. I still have him over Simon Nemec, although Simon Nemec has kind of been better in the NHL in his limited sample size compared to Jiricek's 30-ish games. I still love David Jiricek. I loved him in the draft process.
This is not going to be a popular pick, but I have Shane Wright.
Shane Wright. I was lower on Shane Wright. I again, he was a very high floor, low ceiling guy for me, and I still think the exact same way. Based on what he's done in the past 3-ish years, I don't think that he has the offensive ceiling to ever be point per game. I think he can be 60 to 70 points while also being a two-way, very good player. He will slot very nicely next to Matty Beniers on that second line for Seattle. Let me see what I say back here.
And like Simon Nemec, I think he's a very safe pick. He's going to be a 70 to 80 point two-way center, and that is a great...
I would probably bump that down to 60 to 70 now.
Great player to have. I just think the top 2 ahead of him have more potential. And speaking of which, at number 2, I have Slavkovsky. He's 6'4",
Slavkovsky. All right, let's see what I say.
Skilled as hell. He could literally be Mikko Rantanen 2.0. And at number...
All right, let me go back to that. Slavkovsky. Yeah, I still think he actually is playing very good. He has 4 points in his last 2 games. I did kind of fall in love with that Olympic tape against not very good players. He was 17, 18 years old and absolutely tore it up. He still has the potential. You watch him in these small clips. I know the full game, he's a little bit inconsistent, but this year he has shown flashes of that 6'4", smooth skating, very good hands. I think he has been a little bit unlucky on the Canadiens this year in terms of his point totals. I think he should have probably 5 or 6 more points at the very least. And he is starting to heat up. He's starting to play top line with Cole Caulfield and Nick Suzuki. Again, right now, does Slavkovsky go in the top 10? I probably would still have him in the top 10. Would he go in the top 8? Probably not, but I definitely fell victim to it like some of the other guys. I would maybe have Slavkovsky over Shane Wright. I know that might be a hot take, but let's see who I have at number 1. I kind of already showed it.
And at number 1, I have been on the...
Bang! Logan Cooley, number 1. I rode this train so goddamn hard. This kid was a goddamn wizard with the puck. He was by far the best player on the U.S. developmental program, and as of right now, he would go number 1 in a redraft. Let's see what I'd say.
Logan Cooley trained for like about a month and a half now. In my opinion, he's the best skater and has the best playmaking ability out of anybody in the draft, as well as being solid defensively. He's my number 1 prospect. Anyway, that is my list. I am sure some of you guys are going to hate it. I am just so happy for the draft. I'm actually going to the draft.
Shut the fuck up. No one cares. Logan Cooley, number 1. So, yeah, I'm very happy with that one. Obviously, I think in any redraft, for the most part, you can't even make you don't make an argument for like a Matthew Punch. I'm trying to think of someone else. Pavel Minchikov, you can maybe make an argument, but I still think Logan Cooley would be the number 1 pick in a redraft as of right now. So that one was right. But overall, let's go through it. Cutter Gauthier a little bit too low on. Kamel, I think fine evaluation. He has been a little bit disappointing. Brad Lambert hit that one out of the park. Yurov, very good as well. Nemec, a little bit low on. I will shit on myself for that. Savoy, about fair. I think he'll eventually be a very solid player. Jiricek, I still believe in. Hasn't really had insane point totals as a rookie, but Columbus is a mess. Right, I think I was kind of spot on. I for like months leading up, I did temper the expectations. I tried to say this kid is not as good as some people say. Slavkovsky, bad, but a lot of people fell for his tricks. That's on me, though. And then Logan Cooley, number 1. So overall, okay. I think it was pretty solid evaluations on the whole. You look at a guy like Luke Hughes that I was higher on, Logan Cooley, some Americans, maybe I was higher on Americans in general. But it's pretty interesting to look back on these. I think I did a pretty good job. I would give myself a B on these 2 prospect rankings. There wasn't any like egregious. It's not like I was like, Slavkovsky's by far the best player in this draft class. No one even comes close. I did kind of fall for Slavkovsky, but it is what it is. But yeah, let me know in the comments. What do you think about my list on the whole? Who are some other guys that you were very high on that ended up looking very well as of right now? Who are some guys that you thought were not going to bust that kind of have early on in their careers? And I'll be seeing you in the next one.